Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going way back in time to ancient India and Southeast Asia. We're going to explore the empires, the religions, all those incredible cultural achievements that really shaped these civilizations. And you know what? We've got a ton of amazing sources for this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've got everything from archaeological reports, on the Indus Valley civilization.
Wow.
To travel logs.
Oh, cool.
From Chinese Buddhist monks who ventured into India.
That's going to be amazing. A real journey through time.
Yeah, it is. And you will be amazed at all the connections and innovations that we uncover. I'm excited to get started.
Me too.
All right. So let's begin our journey.
Okay.
In the Indus Valley,
Okay.
around 2300 BCE.
Wow.
Now picture this, a civilization so advanced that they had well-planned cities, intricate drainage systems, they even had public baths.
Really?
Uh-huh.
That's incredible. I mean, that was even before Rome was founded.
I know, right?
The Indus Valley civilization was truly ahead of its time.
Yeah.
There's cities like Harappa.
In the upper Indus region.
Yeah.
And Mohenjo-daro,
Uh-huh.
which is further down the river. They reveal this really sophisticated understanding of urban planning and engineering.
Yeah.
Think about it. They had standardized weights and measures.
Wow.
They had a written script and complex trade networks spanning a vast area.
It really is mind-boggling to think about how organized they were, how innovative. Back then, so long ago, it makes you wonder, who are these people?
Well, the creators of this civilization were most likely the Dravidians,
Okay.
a group who probably predated the arrival of the Indo-European people known as the Aryans, around 1500 BCE.
The Aryans, yeah. I remember learning a little bit about them in school. Weren't they known for their warrior culture?
Yes.
And their influence on Hinduism?
Exactly. The Aryans brought their own beliefs and practices, including the Vedas,
Okay.
which are collections of hymns and prayers and rituals, all dedicated to their gods.
Right.
These gods were often personifications of natural forces.
That's interesting. The oldest of these is the Rig Veda, which gives us a fascinating glimpse into their early religious beliefs.
So how did this Aryan influence, how did it shape the evolution of Hinduism? Was it a sudden shift or more of a gradual blending of ideas?
It was a very gradual process, a fusion of Aryan beliefs with existing indigenous traditions. One key development was the rise of Brahmanism, which elevated the Brahmins, the priestly class, to a position of power. They became the intermediaries between humans and the gods, performing those elaborate rituals and sacrifices believed to maintain cosmic order.
So the Brahmins were the keepers of sacred knowledge and rituals.
Yes.
Did this lead to the development of the caste system?
Yes. The caste system became very deeply entwined with religious beliefs during this period.
Interesting.
It divided society into four main classes, or varnas,
Okay.
the Brahmins at the top,
Right.
followed by the Kshatriyas, the warriors and rulers, then the Vaishyas, the merchants and farmers, and lastly, the Shudras, the laborers and servants.
Wow. So imagine being born into a system where your occupation, your social standing, even your marriage prospects were predetermined. It's hard to even fathom such a rigid structure.
I know.
Were there any challenges to this rigid system?
Well, around the 6th century BCE, a wave of spiritual and philosophical questioning sort of swept through India.
Interesting.
This era saw the rise of new religious movements like Jainism and Buddhism.
Okay.
They offered alternative paths to spiritual liberation, and they really challenged the authority of the Brahmins and the caste system.
That makes sense. People seeking new ways to understand the world, right?
Yes.
And their place in it. So tell me more about Jainism. What were their core beliefs?
Well, Jainism was founded by Vardhamana Mahavira, who emphasized the principles of nonviolence or ahimsa and asceticism as the path to enlightenment. Jains believed that all living beings, even the smallest insects, possessed a soul.
Wow.
And should be treated with utmost compassion. They went to great lengths to avoid harming any creature. Some even wore masks, yes, to prevent accidentally inhaling insects.
That's dedication.
Yes.
Now let's talk about Buddhism.
Okay.
It ultimately became one of the world's major religions. Tell me about its origins.
Well, Buddhism was founded by Siddhartha Gautama,
Okay.
a prince, who renounced his life of luxury
Wow.
to seek enlightenment and understand the true nature of suffering. He became known as the Buddha,
Right.
the awakened one,
Yes.
after attaining enlightenment under a Bodhi tree.
His story is so captivating.
I know.
A prince giving up everything to seek spiritual truth. What were the key teachings of Buddhism that resonated with people?
Well, the Buddha challenged the caste system,
Okay.
emphasizing that all beings have the potential for enlightenment, regardless of their social status. He taught the Four Noble Truths, which focus on the nature of suffering and the path to liberation, which is through the Eightfold Path.
It sounds like a very introspective and ethical path, focusing on self-awareness and compassion. So during this period of spiritual ferment, what was happening on the political landscape?
Well, the 6th century BCE also saw the rise of the Magadha kingdom in northern India. They expanded their power through strategic alliances and conquests. This set the stage for the emergence of the first major empire in Indian history.
Empires. Knew there had to be some epic power struggles somewhere in this story.
Oh, of course.
So tell me about this first empire.
It was the Mauryan Empire, founded by Chandragupta Maurya around 317 BCE. He unified most of the Indian subcontinent under his rule, establishing a vast and powerful empire with its capital at Pataliputra, a bustling city strategically located on the Ganges River.
Chandragupta sounds like a pretty formidable leader.
He was.
Was the Mauryan Empire known for anything besides, its military might?
Oh, absolutely. One of the most significant figures in Mauryan history was Ashoka, the third emperor. He underwent a dramatic transformation after witnessing the horrors of war.
Ashoka, right.
Yes.
Didn't he convert to Buddhism and promote peace and nonviolence?
Yes, you got it. Ashoka's conversion to Buddhism had a huge impact, both on his empire and the spread of Buddhism itself. He renounced violence, embraced Buddhist principles, and dedicated himself to spreading its teachings throughout his realm. He erected pillars inscribed with his edicts, promoting peace, nonviolence, and righteous living.
It's amazing how a single ruler's transformation can, ripple through history.
It really is.
Did Ashoka's patronage, did it influence the development of Buddhism?
Yes, it played a very significant role. Ashoka convened the Third Buddhist Council, which helps solidify Theravada Buddhism as a distinct school of thought. It emphasizes individual salvation through meditation and monastic discipline. Think of it as a more traditional or orthodox form of Buddhism.
Got it.
Which, thanks in part to Ashoka's support, spread throughout India. And eventually to Southeast Asia.
So we've got the rise and consolidation of the Mauryan Empire, a pretty pivotal moment in Indian history. What happened next? Did another empire kind of rise to prominence?
Yes. After the decline of the Mauryans, another powerful empire emerged, the Kushan Empire, which flourished in the early centuries CE. They controlled a vast territory spanning parts of modern-day Afghanistan, Pakistan, and northern India. It's under the Kushans that we see the development of a new branch of Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism.
Okay, so another empire, another branch of Buddhism. So how did Mahayana Buddhism differ from Theravada Buddhism, the one that Ashoka championed?
Mahayana Buddhism offers a more expansive and inclusive path to enlightenment. It emphasizes the concept of the bodhisattva, a being who postpones their own complete Buddhahood to help all other beings achieve liberation. It's about universal salvation, emphasizing compassion and helping others on their spiritual journey.
So while Theravada Buddhism focuses on individual enlightenment, Mahayana Buddhism expands the scope to encompass the well-being of all beings.
Exactly.
That's a significant difference.
Yes. And Mahayana Buddhism also incorporates a wider range of scriptures and practices. It developed into a more elaborate and philosophical tradition.
Were there any key figures associated with the development of Mahayana Buddhism?
Yes. One of the most influential was Nagarjuna, a philosopher and scholar who lived in the 2nd century CE. He's considered a founder of the Madhyamaka school of Mahayana thought, which explores the concept of emptiness, or sunyata.
Emptiness. That sounds intriguing. What does that actually mean in this context?
In Mahayana philosophy, emptiness refers to the idea that all phenomena, including ourselves, lack inherent existence.
Oh, wow.
It's about recognizing the impermanence and interconnectedness of all things. It challenges our attachment to a fixed sense of self and reality. It's a very complex concept. But ultimately, it encourages a deeper understanding of the nature of existence.
Wow, it's pretty deep. So we've covered two major empires, the Mauryans and the Kushans. We've explored the evolution of Buddhism from Theravada to Mahayana. What's next on our historical journey?
Well, after the decline of the Kushan Empire, a new power emerged in India, the Gupta dynasty. They're often referred to as the Golden Age of India because of their remarkable contributions to art, science, literature, and mathematics.
A golden age. Okay, tell me everything about the Guptas. I'm ready for another deep dive into a fascinating period of Indian history.
All right. The Gupta dynasty was founded by Chandragupta Maurya in the early 4th century CE, once again with Pataliputra as their capital.
It seems like certain cities have a knack for remaining centers of power, even as empires rise and fall.
It's true.
It's fascinating how those cities become enduring symbols of power and cultural influence throughout history.
I know.
So tell me, what made the Gupta period a golden age?
Well, the Gupta Empire reached its peak under the reign of Chandragupta II,
Okay.
who ruled from 380 to 415 CE. He was a renowned patron of the arts and sciences, and his court was a hub of intellectual and cultural vibrancy. He was so celebrated for his wisdom and justice that he even gained recognition in distant China as King Vikramaditya.
Wow. A Gupta emperor, famous in China. How did that happen?
Well, during Chandragupta II's reign, a Chinese Buddhist monk named Faxian traveled all the way to India. He was on a mission to collect Buddhist scriptures and learn more about Buddhist practices in the land where it originated. He spent several years traveling throughout India, visiting important Buddhist sites, studying with renowned teachers, and documenting his experiences.
Yes, he was like a scholar, explorer, venturing into a foreign land in pursuit of knowledge. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Did he leave behind any accounts of his travels?
Yes. Faxian wrote a detailed account of his travels,
Oh, wow.
providing valuable insights into the social, religious, and political landscape of Gupta India. He described the bustling cities, the magnificent temples, and the vibrant culture of Gupta India. He painted a vivid picture of life during this golden age.
It's amazing how those ancient travelogues provide such rich historical detail. I bet his writings are like a treasure trove of information for historians today.
They are.
That's so cool.
His account offers a fascinating window into the past, allowing us to, glimpse the daily lives, beliefs, and cultural achievements of the Gupta era.
So besides a flourishing empire and cultural exchange with China, what else defined the Gupta Golden Age? Did Hinduism undergo any significant developments during this period?
Yes, this period witnessed a flourishing of Hinduism as it synthesized earlier Brahmanical traditions, folk beliefs, and even some Buddhist influences, the Manusmriti. An ancient legal text outlining social and religious duties gained prominence during this time. It further codified the norms and practices of Hinduism.
So it sounds like Hinduism, as we know it today, really started taking shape during the Gupta era.
Yes.
What about art and architecture?
Yes.
Did they have a signature style?
Absolutely. The Gupta period is renowned for its distinctive art and architecture, reflecting the opulence and sophistication of the era. Think graceful figures, intricate carvings, and a sense of serenity. One of the most stunning examples is the Ajanta Caves, a series of rock-cut cave temples in Maharashtra, India.
Right.
These caves feature exquisite murals depicting scenes from the life of the Buddha and intricate sculptures that showcase the artistic mastery of the Gupta period.
I've seen pictures of the Ajanta Caves. They are breathtaking.
They are.
It's incredible to think about the skill and dedication involved in creating such elaborate works of art.
I know. It's truly awe-inspiring. And don't forget about the Ellora Caves.
Oh, right.
Also in Maharashtra, which feature temples dedicated to Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism.
Wow.
A testament to the religious diversity and tolerance of the region.
The Ellora Caves sound fascinating.
They are.
It's like a microcosm of India's religious landscape. So the Guptas had a thriving empire, a rich cultural scene, and left behind an incredible artistic legacy. But empires don't last forever, right? What led to their decline?
Unfortunately, you're right. The Gupta Empire faced increasing pressure from external forces, particularly the nomadic Huns, also known as the Hephthalites.
The Huns. Weren't they the fierce warriors who rampaged across Europe?
Yes.
Did they make their way to India as well?
Yes. The Huns were a formidable force, and their incursions into India proved to be a significant challenge for the Guptas.
Oh, wow.
By the mid-6th century CE, the Gupta Empire had fragmented.
It's always a bit sad to witness the decline of a great empire.
It is.
But I'm sure the story of India doesn't end there. What happened after the Guptas?
Well, the decline of the Gupta Empire led to a period of political fragmentation, with various regional powers vying for dominance. However, in the early 7th century CE, a new dynasty emerged in northern India, the Vardhana dynasty.
Okay, bring on the Vardhanas. Who was the leading figure in this new dynasty?
The founder of the Vardhana dynasty was Harshavardhana,
Okay.
a skilled military leader who managed to unify much of northern India under his rule.
Wow.
He was known for his patronage of the arts, his administrative skills, and his efforts to promote both Buddhism and Hinduism.
He sounds like he was following in the footsteps of some of those great Gupta emperors, trying to revive a sense of unity and cultural vibrancy. What else was notable about his reign?
Well, during his reign, another famous Chinese Buddhist monk, Xuanzang, traveled to India. Remember we talked about Faxian earlier?
Yeah.
Who visited during the Gupta period. It seems like India continued to be a magnet for Buddhist scholars seeking knowledge and scriptures.
Another Chinese monk venturing to India.
I know, right?
Starting to see a pattern here. What was Xuanzang's story?
Well, Xuanzang was a scholar and translator who was determined to find original Buddhist texts in India.
Okay.
To resolve discrepancies he saw in Chinese translations.
Oh, interesting.
He spent several years studying at the renowned Nalanda University, a major center of Buddhist learning in ancient India,
Right.
which attracted scholars from all across Asia.
Nalanda University. Wasn't that like the intellectual hub of ancient India?
Exactly. Think of it as the Harvard of ancient India.
Wow.
A vibrant center of learning and scholarship, Xuanzang's accounts provide us with invaluable insights into the intellectual life and Buddhist practices of that era.
Okay, so we have a new dynasty trying to unify northern India. A renowned Buddhist university attracting scholars from across Asia.
Yes.
And yet another intrepid Chinese monk documenting it all. This is shaping up to be quite a fascinating period.
It was. And while northern India was witnessing the rise of the Vardhanas, South India was experiencing its own period of dynamism,
Okay.
with powerful dynasties like the Satavahanas and the Cholas making their mark on history.
Okay, let's shift our focus southward. Tell me about the Satavahanas. What made them stand out in South Indian history?
Well, the Satavahana dynasty ruled over a large part of central and southern India
Okay.
for over 4 centuries. From the 1st century BCE to the 3rd century CE.
That's incredible.
They were known for their flourishing trade networks, especially with the Roman Empire.
Wow, trade with the Romans. That's impressive. What were they trading across such vast distances?
They exported goods like textiles, spices, and precious stones to the Roman world, which was, eager for exotic goods from the East. In return, they received gold and silver coins, which brought significant wealth and prosperity to their kingdom.
So they were the trade masters of South India,
Right.
connecting with one of the most powerful empires in the West. What about the Cholas?
Yes.
What were they known for?
The Chola dynasty, which rose to prominence in the 9th century CE, was a maritime powerhouse. They controlled a vast naval empire.
Wow.
That extended across the Bay of Bengal, reaching parts of Southeast Asia. They used their naval strength to establish trade links, conduct military campaigns, and exert their influence over a wide region.
A naval empire. That's a new one. It sounds like they were the Vikings of the East, dominating the seas, projecting their power far and wide.
That's a great analogy. The Cholas were skilled navigators and shipbuilders, and their naval dominance allowed them to control key trade routes and engage in extensive maritime trade. They even had interactions with the Song dynasty of China, another major maritime power at that time. It really demonstrates their reach and influence.
It's fascinating to see how these South Indian dynasties were making waves, literally, across the Bay of Bengal and beyond. And now I have a feeling we're about to dive into the world of Southeast Asia, right? A region so deeply influenced by the cultures and religions of India.
You're absolutely right. Get ready for a fascinating journey through Southeast Asia. We'll explore the kingdoms and empires that emerged under the influence of Indian culture. It's a story of cultural fusion, adaptation, and the creation of unique and vibrant civilizations. So, ready to explore Southeast Asia?
Yes.
Okay. Our first stop takes us to the Mekong River Delta,
Okay.
where the kingdom of Funan emerged around the 1st century CE.
Funan. All right, I'm all ears. Tell me about this kingdom. What made it significant?
Well, Funan was a really prosperous kingdom,
Yeah.
strategically located along those vital maritime trade routes,
Right.
linking India and China.
Oh,
They played like a crucial role in facilitating the exchange of goods, ideas, and cultural influences between those two great civilizations. Think of them as the ancient world's middlemen, controlling the flow of commerce and culture across the region.
It's amazing how certain kingdoms or empires become those vital crossroads of trade and cultural exchange,
Yes.
shaping the development of entire regions. So what happened to Funan? Did they eventually fade from power?
Yes. Like all empires, Funan eventually declined. It was absorbed by a new Khmer kingdom called Chenla in the 6th century CE. But before we delve into the Khmer, let's talk about another kingdom that popped up around this time. Champa.
Champa. Okay, yeah. Another new name. To add to my mental map of Southeast Asia,
right.
Where was Champa located and what were they known for?
The Champa kingdom was established by the Cham people in what is now central and southern Vietnam. It was founded in the late 2nd century CE and lasted for over 1,000 years.
1,000 years.
Yes.
That's impressive.
It is, leaving behind this rich and distinctive cultural legacy.
Wow. Were they also influenced by Indian culture, like Funan?
Absolutely. Champa adopted many aspects of Indian culture, including Hinduism and the use of Sanskrit. They developed their own unique artistic styles, built impressive temples and religious complexes, and developed a pretty sophisticated maritime trading network.
It's incredible how Indian culture and ideas, how they permeated such a vast area, right? Influencing so many distinct kingdoms and cultures. Okay, so we have Funan, Chenla, and Champa, all really fascinating kingdoms in their own right. But now I'm eager to learn about the Khmer.
Okay.
They're the ones who built Angkor Wat, right?
Yeah.
One of the most iconic, awe-inspiring temples in the world.
You're absolutely right. The Khmer Empire, centered in present-day Cambodia, it was one of the most powerful and enduring empires in Southeast Asian history. And yes, they are renowned for their architectural achievements, especially the magnificent temple complex of Angkor Wat.
Okay, tell me everything about Angkor Wat. What makes it so special?
Well, Angkor Wat was built in the 12th century CE by King Suryavarman II. It's a real testament to the architectural genius, the artistic skill, the religious devotion of the Khmer people. Imagine a vast complex of temples, towers, and courtyards.
Wow.
All intricately carved with scenes from Hindu mythology. It's a masterpiece of design and engineering on a grand scale.
I've seen pictures and it's truly breathtaking. It's hard to imagine the scale, the detail, the carvings. What was its original purpose?
Well, Angkor Wat was originally dedicated to the Hindu god Vishnu, and it served as both a temple and a royal mausoleum.
Wow.
It's a real testament to the grandeur, the sophistication of Khmer civilization. It really reflects their deep connection to Hinduism and their mastery of art and architecture.
So it's not just a temple. It's a symbol of Khmer power, artistry, and religious beliefs. Incredible.
It is.
Now, as we venture further into Southeast Asia, were there any other kingdoms or empires that played a key role in shaping the region?
Absolutely. In the 11th century CE, the pagan kingdom was established by the Burmese people in what is now Myanmar, formerly known as Burma.
Myanmar, okay.
Yeah.
I'm starting to piece together the map of ancient Southeast Asia in my mind.
Good.
So what made the pagan kingdom stand out?
Well, the pagan kingdom flourished for several centuries and was a major center of Theravada Buddhism, which, as you'll recall, originated in India and was championed by Emperor Ashoka of the Mauryan Empire.
Right, Theravada Buddhism. It's fascinating to see how this branch of Buddhism, how it spread throughout India and took root in Southeast Asia as well. So we have Hinduism influencing kingdoms like Funan and Champa, and Theravada Buddhism kind of shaping the pagan kingdom. It's incredible how those religious and cultural influences from India, how they left such a lasting imprint on Southeast Asia.
It's a real testament to the power of ideas and cultural exchange. And speaking of cultural exchange, let's move on to Vietnam, where we see the rise of the Lai dynasty in the 11th century CE. They embraced Chinese culture and Confucianism while still maintaining their own distinct Vietnamese traditions.
So Vietnam had this interesting mix of influences, blending elements from China and India with their own indigenous culture. How did they manage to integrate those different influences?
It's a testament to their cultural adaptability and their ability to create something unique from diverse sources. They selectively adopted elements that resonated with their own cultural values, creating a hybrid culture that was both distinctive and dynamic.
That's fascinating. So what happened after the Lai dynasty?
Well, they were succeeded by the Tran dynasty. In the 13th century CE, the Tran dynasty is known for their fierce resistance against Mongol invasions and their development of Chunam, a unique writing system based on Chinese characters, but adapted to the Vietnamese language.
Wow, they repelled the Mongols.
They did.
That's impressive. It seems like Vietnam had a very strong sense of independence and cultural resilience.
Absolutely. They were determined to defend their sovereignty and maintain their cultural identity. even in the face of powerful external forces. And their development of Chunam demonstrates their creativity and ingenuity in adapting those foreign influences to suit their own needs.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in Southeast Asia, from Funan to Champa, the Khmer Empire, the Pagan Kingdom, and the rise of the Lai and Tran dynasties in Vietnam.
Yes.
It's amazing to see how diverse and dynamic this region was in ancient times.
It truly is, and it's important to remember that this is just a glimpse into the rich and complex history of Southeast Asia. There are countless other kingdoms, empires, and cultural achievements that we could explore.
It's a reminder that history is an ongoing exploration, full of surprises, interconnected stories, waiting to be uncovered.
Exactly. And speaking of interconnected stories, we can't forget about a pivotal kingdom that really bridged the gap between India and Southeast Asia.
Okay.
The Srivijaya kingdom.
Srivijaya. Okay, tell me more. Where was this kingdom located, and what made it a bridge between India and Southeast Asia?
Well, Srivijaya emerged in the 7th century CE on the island of Sumatra in present-day Indonesia. It became a major maritime empire, controlling key trade routes through the Strait of Malacca.
Ah, the Strait of Malacca. Isn't that one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world, even today?
You got it. It's a strategically vital waterway. And back in the Srivijaya era, it was no different.
Wow.
They commanded a vast network of trade routes, connecting China, India, and the Middle East, making them like a key player in global trade.
So they were like the ancient gatekeepers of global trade.
Yes.
Controlling the flow of goods and ideas through this crucial maritime choke point. What else were they known for, besides their, naval prowess and control of trade routes?
Srivijaya was also a renowned center of Buddhist learning and culture, attracting monks and scholars from all over Asia.
Wow.
It played a key role in spreading Mahayana Buddhism throughout the region.
Wait, Mahayana Buddhism in Indonesia?
Yes.
I thought Theravada Buddhism was more common in Southeast Asia.
You're right. Theravada Buddhism became dominant in mainland Southeast Asia, but Mahayana Buddhism also had a strong presence in certain regions, particularly in Indonesia.
Okay.
Thanks in part to the influence of the Srivijaya kingdom.
Okay, so it's more nuanced than I initially thought.
Yeah.
There were different branches of Buddhism flourishing in different parts of Southeast Asia. So is Srivijaya a rival to the Khmer Empire, which we discussed earlier?
Well, it's not so much a rivalry as a different kind of power dynamic. While the Khmer were primarily a land-based empire, focusing on building magnificent temples in cities like Angkor Wat, Srivijaya was a maritime power, controlling trade, projecting its influence through its navy and its network of trading partners.
It's like they represented two different models of power and influence in the Southeast Asia. The Khmer with their land-based empire and Srivijaya with their maritime dominance. Fascinating.
Exactly. And their stories demonstrate how different forms of power can shape the cultural and economic landscape of a region. Now, speaking of cultural influence, let's move on to another fascinating kingdom that flourished in ancient Indonesia, the Sailendra dynasty.
Sailendra. Okay, I'm ready to learn more about them. Where did they rule? And what were they known for?
Well, the Sailendra dynasty rose to prominence in the 8th century CE in central Java. They were known for their patronage of Mahayana Buddhism and their impressive architectural achievements.
So yet another kingdom in Indonesia with a strong connection to Mahayana Buddhism.
Yes.
What kind of architectural wonders did they leave behind?
One of their most iconic creations is the Borobudur Temple, a magnificent structure.
Okay.
Built in the 9th century CE. It's a massive stone mandala representing the journey towards enlightenment. It's considered one of the greatest masterpieces of Buddhist architecture in the world.
Borobudur. I've seen pictures, and it's truly awe-inspiring. It looks like a giant pyramid with all these intricate carvings and stupas.
It is a sight to behold. It reflects the syncretic nature of Indonesian culture.
Yeah.
Blending Indian Buddhist concepts with indigenous Javanese elements.
Okay, so we've covered the Srivijaya kingdom, a maritime power that controlled trade routes and spread Mahayana Buddhism, and the Sailendra dynasty, known for their patronage of Buddhism and the construction of the magnificent Borobudur temple.
Yes.
It's incredible how these ancient kingdoms and empires were shaping the cultural, religious, and economic landscape of Southeast Asia.
It's a testament to their creativity, resilience, and their ability to adapt and innovate in response to various influences.
This has been an incredible journey so far.
Yes, it has.
And I feel like my understanding of ancient India and Southeast Asia has expanded exponentially. It's amazing how these civilizations, how they were interconnected through trade, religion, and cultural exchange.
Yeah, it really is remarkable how all these ancient civilizations, separated by these huge distances, were connected by trade routes, shared religious beliefs, this constant flow of ideas, cultural influences.
It really makes you realize the world was a lot more interconnected than we sometimes imagine.
Absolutely. And these connections, they weren't just about, exchanging goods or religious practices. They also led to the fusion of ideas, the blending of artistic styles, the creation of new cultural expressions.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that cultures are dynamic. They're constantly evolving through interacting with others.
Okay, so we've explored ancient India, we've delved into the fascinating kingdoms of Southeast Asia, and we've uncovered these incredible connections that span continents.
Yes.
It's been an epic journey.
It has.
But before we wrap up, I'm curious, what are some of the key takeaways from our deep dive? What insights or reflections do you think our listeners should walk away with?
Well, I think one of the biggest takeaways is the sheer diversity and dynamism of these ancient civilizations. We tend to think of history as this linear progression, but what we've seen is a much more complex and interconnected story, full of twists and turns, cultural blends, unexpected connections.
That's like a tapestry.
Yes.
Woven from countless threads, each representing a different culture, belief system, or historical event. And when you look at that whole tapestry, you start to see those intricate patterns, those connections that you might miss if you only focused on one single thread.
Exactly. Another key takeaway is the enduring legacy of these civilizations. Right. Their art, their architecture, their religious beliefs, philosophical ideas, even their political structures. They have continued to shape the world we live in today. Think about the influence of Hinduism and Buddhism, the architectural marvels of Angkor Wat and Borobudur, or the impact of those ancient trade routes on global commerce. These legacies are all around us.
It's like a reminder that we're all part of this much larger historical narrative, a story that, stretches back thousands of years and continues to unfold even in the present. And as we've seen, it's a story that's full of surprises, unexpected connections, and that enduring power of human ingenuity and creativity.
Absolutely. And that brings us to a final thought-provoking question.
Okay.
For our listeners to ponder, we've explored all those historical connections between ancient India and Southeast Asia.
Right.
But what about the deeper philosophical or spiritual links that might have existed between these civilizations? What common threads of thought or belief might have resonated across these cultures, shaping their worldviews, their understanding of the universe, their place within it? It's a really intriguing question to consider as you continue your own explorations of these really fascinating cultures.
Yeah, that's a great question to leave our listeners with. It really encourages them to kind of go beyond that surface level of those historical facts and delve into those deeper philosophical and spiritual connections that may have existed between these really ancient civilizations.
Exactly. It's a reminder that history isn't just about dates and events. It's about understanding the ideas, the beliefs, the motivations that shaped the course of human civilization.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into ancient India and Southeast Asia. It's been a truly enlightening journey, and I hope our listeners have enjoyed it as much as we have.
It's been a real pleasure exploring these fascinating civilizations with you, and I encourage everyone to continue their own deep dives into that rich tapestry of history that connects us all.